Hello, we give some time to join everyone who wants to attend now in this session live. So please be patient for just 1 minute, and I think we can start in a minute. Yeah, so I think we can start. Maybe someone will join a bit later. I'll share with you my presentation. So hello everyone, my name is Marta Saracen and I will be hosting this session. For the beginning, I will just introduce myself that you know who you are listening to. So I'm a hydrologist, I'm a water management specialist with a specialization in water management and water management planning. Especially according to EU regulations. I'm working as ESG manager in Antea Group. Antea Group is an international company operating in all over the world. We've got offices in United States, in Europe, in France, in Belgium, in Netherlands, in Spain, but also in Poland. I'm from Poland. We are also operating in Asia in our India division. We are involved in projects in the field of water, environment, energy, and also urban planning. The topic of our session is natural water retention measures. This is something really close to me, and the cost effectiveness in the water footprint context. The session is planned for 5 parts. First part is short introduction. What are the natural water retention measures? How can we use this term in terms of different measures? The second part is about need of retention. Do we actually need retention, and if we need, why? Third part is the cost part. It is a part that connects with the cost of the measures in context of different types of measures, also with traditional hydrotechnical measures. The fourth part is this water footprint context and how natural water retention measures are connected to water footprint and what is my idea of this connection. The fifth part is part that I plan to hear your voice. So I would like you to help me to answer the question why we do not use natural water retention measures as a common practice. The last part, not on slide, is of course part with the questions and answers and discussion. We will have some time to exchange our opinions about natural water retention measures and their costs and their benefits in terms of water footprint. So with no further ado, we start the first part. We start the part with the definition of natural water retention measures. This is because this topic is quite wide. Many measures can be part of natural water retention measures. And what are the terms to be a part of these NWRM measures? First, the measure must be multifunctional. It means that there is just more than one purpose of such measure. And the second most important part is that the measure must be nature-based. So it means that the traditional hydrotechnic measures can't be considered as natural water retention measures. The main goal of NWRM is to protect and manage water resources and also address water-related challenges, especially challenges with water scarcity and water retention. The main focus of this group of measures is to enhance and preserve water retention capacity for not only water in rivers and lakes, but we also can use it to improve retention in soils and in the ecosystems. The benefit of all these measures is that the status of water-related ecosystems are improving during the preparation of such measures. What are the natural water retention measures? We can use this term for river restoration, wetland restoration, but also to changing agricultural practices. This is this part of soil retention. For example, polyculture, this special way of farming practices is also part of natural water retention measures. They can be also used for afforestation. So the forest retention is also can be a part of natural water retention measures. This term is also used in the context of urban retention and urban climate adaptation. We can use green roofs, green walls, the smaller in the scale of measures, but still important. And the next thing that can be involved for natural water retention measures are home rain storages, like small tanks to catch rainfall. We can also use this term to use natural ways of retention created not by humans but other species, for example, beavers and beaver dams. And preserving the beaver dams is one of the ways to conduct natural water retention measures. Last but not least, we can also use field ponds, the natural field ponds, to increase the retention. This is also the way to implement natural water retention measures. So why do we need actually retention? Retention is the answer for many different problems. First of all, it's an answer for problems with droughts. For sure, it's not very surprising that if we got droughts, we need more water, and the retention is the way to provide more water. But also on the other side, we've got floods, and also floods can be we can use natural water retention measures to counteract the floods. We can use it to increase flood protection. But it's not only this, because, as I said, natural water retention measures are measures that need to based on natural solutions, and their benefit is that the ecosystem is preserved or even improved. So we can use natural water retention measures as a way to restore biodiversity. In terms of droughts and floods, we can also consider climate change and climate change adaptation. For sure, retention is one of the ways to adapt to changing climate, especially in terms of more and more often droughts and floods. If we are talking about floods, there is probably no one will be surprised that we've got this problem every single year. These are just few headlines from mainstream media from this and last year. We've got floods in Germany, we've got floods in UK, we've got floods in France. We also have a flood in Poland now. In the northern part of Poland, there is a huge problem of floods. If we are looking for more data about flood problems, we can see that the number of events is quite high, and it's all over Europe. And the predictions and trends are showing that there will be increase of that events, especially in France, in some parts of Germany, but also in Alps regions. So for sure, floods are one of the most problematic things now, and it's not only the problem of Europe. I'm sure you all heard about floods in New Zealand this year. This problem is a global problem, so for sure the need of retention as a way to counteract these events is a good way to start. What is important about floods is that the consequences of floods are spread all over. This is not a governmental problem, because for sure it's from one hand side but it's also a problem for every single individual as a private person, but also as a companies. This is really important to see this problem not only when it's actually happening, because it's not only that time. This part of flood risk is one of the risks that insurance company use to assess their risk to insure some companies. So this is the issue that not only should be and will be resolved on the governmental level, on the country level, but it's also a small scale problem to resolve also in a company level. The second part of this need of retention is drafts. This year is really problematic year in terms of drafts. As you see, all the media are showing that we've got in Europe extreme problem with heat waves, droughts, and also water scarcity. This is so big problem that even mainstream media sees this as a problem. It's not our water management issue. It's a global problem, and the consequences are all over the news. So it means that not only we practitioners see this problem and we want to solve it, but it's also a problem in the global scale. This year we can say drought is almost everywhere in Europe, as you see on the map. European Drought Observatory in July as a CDI index, the CDI index is that all Europe is warning or alerted. Just small parts are in full recovery, and this is the CDI from July. In August, as far as I know, it would be a bit worse than now. We all are aware of problems with fires and forest fires in all over the Europe. Last year, big fire in Greece. This year, big fire in France, in Czech Republic. So it means that there is the problem of droughts and the consequences of this are all over the Europe, but not only in Europe. Of course, the problem is much more wide. To show you how does it work in my home country, in Poland, we were preparing the draft contract program, and in this program we also assessed the risk of drafts. The left top map is agricultural drought, and the lower map is showing the drought in water, in fresh water, in rivers. Altogether, we will have the view that in 38 million inhabitant country, actually most of the country is highly risked and highly in danger with droughts. So it means that this is the huge problem. We also have got water scarcity. This is the map with the municipalities where the water use restrictions is now obliged. So as you see, it's most of the Poland. In this map is from last week, and I don't have this week map because it's not ready for now. But for sure, the level of municipalities is increasing. As you see, each year is more than 300 municipalities that there are water use restrictions. The water can be used just for drinking. So for some of the municipalities, the problem was so huge that they actually needed to use water from neighbors to provide fresh water for their inhabitants. And the most surprising part for non-practitioners is the water scarcity droughts can be in the same time, in the same area as floods. This is the case of southern part of Poland from this year. They've got in the same time problem with water use and lack of water for drinking, and in the same time they've got enormous drought, enormous floods in their area because of the huge rainfall. This is the climate change impact, and it's visible each year even more than previous one. So how we can deal with these problems, how we can deal with floods, how we can deal with droughts. I will explain to you as a case study for Poland, because we were involved to prepare such a document. And I will show you how the idea in Poland was conducted and what does it mean to others. The data I will show is from Water Deficiencies Contract Program. It's a governmental program with 13 different types of measure. The idea was to increase the water retention level by 8% of yearly yearly rainfall. So it means that in Poland it should be doubled from 7.5 to almost 16. There was 14 different types of measure with different areas. On the map, you can see the area, different catchments that need more or less retention. The red one is the areas where the retention is the most needed measure. The yellow one is these are the areas where the retention is not so much needed, but still there is a risk of water deficiencies. For 14 types of measure, the most measures are connected to natural water retention measures. These are wetland restorations, these are river restorations, but also natural retention in forests and afforestation. For agricultural retention, there is a bunch of different measures. They are connected with different practices, agricultural practices, especially on areas which are in flood risk, but also creating small field ponds. There is also a small part of small parts of the measures connected to drainage modernization, and one big group of measures connected to these typical hard hydrotechnical measures like dam constructions and mine recultivation. These measures are quite huge in terms of quantity. The plan is to store over 5.4 billion of cubic meters. And I'm curious, can you guess how much it costs in this 38 million inhabitant country? So quite a big country for European standards, rather small in world scale. This program will cost over 10 billion euros, and it's planned to be implemented by 2030. For country standards and water management investments is quite huge, especially if you take into consideration that usually the spend of water for water retention is half of this amount for last 10 years. So it means that there is not so much investment in previous years. The plan is to do it now. But when we were preparing this document, this water scarcity contract program, I was with my team really surprised by the end of our economical analysis. This was the idea behind this seminar. It means that the outcomes of our analysis were much different than we expected, and we were really surprised why it didn't go straight to the document. Because the cost of effectiveness of measures per 1 cubic meter for hydrotechnical measures were 5.7 euro. Is, I would say, normal for that document, but for natural water retention measures, it was much8 out of 14, it was just 14 euro cents per 1 cubic meter. This is big difference between these two measures. if we start looking in the details of this, the plan was to implement over 500 different hydrotechnical measures, as I call them, hard measures. These typical, I would say, old-fashioned measures with constructing dams and so on. And as you see, the cost of the measure and the cost of the and the retention by this measure shows that there is nothing like if you've got more water retention, it costs more. Sometimes there are measures that doesn't make any big effort in this retention input, but they are cost a lot. So we decided to just start thinking what kind of measures is better than this typical the measure that actually we used to. So I would like to give you a chance to answer the question from this list of measures from group of natural water retention measures. Which one was most effective per cubic meter? The poll is now opened on our event site. So if you like, you can choose. And I will give you a few minutes to just open the site and start voting, because I'm really curious whether you are actually choosing the thing that it's actually the less costless. And the hint is that in the short description of this session, there was this information. So I'm curious, and I will try to show you the effects of this poll. Okay, just give me a second. And I will try to show you. Just a minute more. To give you a chance to vote. Yeah, I see some of you are voting also on the chat. Different answers. Okay, so I will vote now. I will vote for correct answer. The correct answer is C. I will see the results. So yeah, there was me and someone else voting the river restoration. I will go back to my presentation to show you the results again. Yeah. The cheapest way to improve the retention was river restoration. We were also really surprised. But why the cost of the hard measures, the hydrotechnical measures, are so high? First of all, this is the summary of the results of different natural water retention measures. As you see, the plans for wetland restoration is not so big because it's just 79 million cubic meters, and the cost effectiveness is still lower than hydrotechnical investment. The only one of the natural water retention measures, which is which cost effectiveness is higher than hydrotechnical investment, is local rain storages. This measure is actually one of the smallest and it's conducted in really small scale. We can't benefit from the scale of the measure. And one more thing that I want to add in for this slide is the cost effectiveness is just direct cost of construction, direct cost of measure. We are not counting here any costs connected to other benefits and other benefits and other costs. So just keep in mind that this is straight cost of the measure and the retention in cubic meters. It's really important, especially when we start discussing the benefits, because the benefits are not included in this analysis in the currency level, in the money level. I want to show you that there were two actually big measures which are actually their input for the achieving the goal of doubling the retention in Poland is river restoration and hydrotechnical investment. As you see, the plans for those two are quite the same for the retention level, but the cost is completely different. 14 million euro, and we've got river restoration for almost 7 quite huge, almost 11 quite big rivers, and we've got hydrotechnical investment, and we've got almost the same quantity of the water in the price of much higher, because it's more than 6 billion euros. So it's most of the cost of the program, like 67%. So it's quite huge difference. So this, in the same way, we've got the cost of effectiveness for river restoration more than 500% lower than hydrotechnical investment. Why the cost of these hard measures is so high? First of all, we need to take into consideration that for many years the cost of materials, on the slide you've got steel rod and cost per kilogram, they were in the same level. And when we start to preparing the program, the cost went up. We prepared the water deficiency contract program in 2021, so we can see that this was this moment, and the cost went just higher and higher. The plan is that it should drop in this quarter, but not so. I'm not so sure, as we see what is going on this construction area. So the cost of the basic materials is rising. The same story for concrete, and the level of prices for concrete, this typical B20 concrete per cubic meter, was for a long time quite the same, and suddenly it starts growing. The steel went up for almost three times. The price of concrete went up for more than 20% per half of a year. So it means the cost of the measures are rising, and probably in the future, the situation will be the same. The cost of the concrete, the cost of the steel, but also the cost of the workload will be higher. So the cost of hard measures for sure in future will increase. And I want to show you one of the measures and how we calculate the costs. First of all, we decided to try to protect the beaver dams. Beavers are this is the kind of species that creates special dams from natural materials, especially for trees growing nearby, and it depends on the study, but the beaver dams per dam can accumulate 3,000 cubic meters per dam. So it means that it's small, really small scale retention, but it's really important because it's on the small rivers. And if we consider the beaver dams, we cannot forget about claims for damages by beavers, because if the beavers are creating such dam, there are some area under the water. Usually it's agricultural area, so the claims are from farmers, and for 2021, the claims for the area where the beavers in Poland are living in the quite huge population. It's one of the northeast part of regions, was 2.2 million euros. And if we consider that this were the claims for over 16,000 beavers which are living in this area, we can easily calculate that per dam it was like just 800 euro. So it means that to get a retention on a level of 8 million cubic meters, there was a claim for 2.2 million. So it means that the one of the dams, one cubic meter costs 3.7 euro. So it's still cheaper than hydrotechnical issues, and we can still remember that this is no more costs, because you don't need to do anything else just to pay the claims. Now I would like to go to the context of water footprint and natural water retention measures. I mentioned that the flood is one of the risks for the company, and this should be also included in ESG plans and risk assessment plans for the companies, because we are in the point that the water footprint, it starts to be more and more important. As we are used to calculate the carbon footprint, the cost of emission for every activity, now we are starting also calculating water footprint, so the cost of water for every single activity. We can do it on the high level, at the country level. We can do it at as a individual person. We can calculate our water footprint, but we also can use it to improve of our work as a company. As you saw, the natural water retention measures is a way to create a retention. So it's the way to improve your water footprint as a company. So you can invest in retention to lower your water footprint in the catchment scale. It's a good way to stop reducing the water use to your company, but also creating additional retention. What is important that natural water retention measures are actually cheaper than any kind of hydrotechnical measures. They are also much easier to conduct. They do not need so much. Formal part. They also can be conducted in cooperation with local authorities. It's not so hard to prevent the beaver dam from demolition by locals. In Poland, it's actually forbidden to demolish the beaver dams. You need very special permission in case they are actually endangering some areas in terms of floods. So it's not so hard for the company to start the natural water retention measures. The other beneficial part of the natural water retention measures are also the scale. You don't need to create huge investment. You can go with small scale, with small part of river restoration, small part of protection of floodplains. And the last but not least, in a European context, the natural water retention measures are fulfilling the taxonomy goals. Why is it important? First of all, it's important because if you need some external funding, especially from EU funds, this is the way to prove that you're actually on the right side, you are on the green side, because you are fulfilling the climate adaptation goals, you are fulfilling the water resources protection goals. And for sure, you are fulfilling the goals connected to biodiversity. So it means that you are not only on the good side of do not significantly harm rule, but you are also creating a good impact for good input for taxonomy goals. The second part is that now for the financial institutions which are obliged to report their input to the taxonomy, it's also one of the important factors to put the money in some kind of investment. So it's good to include in your investment plan also some natural water retention measures as a part of bigger investment, bigger picture to improve your ESG factors and taxonomy input. The question we've got with our team was, why is not a common practice? Because if it's cheaper, if got more and more beneficials, it's getting more and more easy to do it. Why is it not common practice? We are thinking that this is the problem of different obstacles, and we are wondering how to overcome them with natural water retention measures. We don't have easy answers. We don't have the solution for the whole problem. And this is the part I'm really curious if you got some input, if you've got some thoughts about the obstacles and how to overcome them. So I would like to divide you in groups to discuss in the smaller, easier to discuss groups, to find an obstacle that you see and the way to overcome them. I will share my thoughts with you after this short break session, and you can sum up your ideas too. So I would like you to be split in groups, or can I ask you to do it for next 15 minutes?
Yes, yes. I'm going to split all the participants in 5 groups. So you need to accept the invitation.
And after this short break session, I would like you to just give us some thoughts of your group outcomes. So please choose the person who is presenting. Okay, not to waste time after we will be back here. So see you in 15. Yeah, I think we are back together. Aura, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes, most of the people has go out of the rooms. The rooms are closed now.
Okay, so I heard a bit because I was listening to you a bit, and there were quite nice discussions. So I would like you to just sum up for two minutes of your outcomes, and I will ask the first group, the room 2. Can you did you choose someone to present? Oh, I can't hear anyone. Some volunteers? Because I
Yeah,
don't.
so can you hear me?
Thank you.
All right, we were group 2. I'd like to thank everybody in group for contributing and we discussed. So in terms of obstacles, we had identified probably 4 key areas. One is the large area that you have to cover if you're looking for this kind of a solution, large cross-sectional area. Second one is maintenance, maintaining these large areas. That could possibly be an obstacle because, again, who would maintain it, who would sustain it? If it's a hard infrastructure like piping, you have engineers, you have technicians, people going and doing that. But if it's a public sort of a space with rivers and stuff, who would be responsible? Is it the government or is it someone else? So that could be an obstacle. Third is we as humans are more oriented towards installing infrastructure to solve our problems. We're not always looking at nature-based solutions. We're more oriented towards installing pipes, dams, beds to control and to measure. So that kind of, these are again, design thinking of how we address our challenges could also be potentially be an obstacle. So these are the key obstacles. Do you want me to go to the next one, how to overcome them that we've talked about?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool. Overcoming, look at more private public sector studies which focus on socioeconomic factors, like how you basically talked about today, of all the different options that you can address the challenge of getting water supply, looking at dams, rivers, even nature-based solutions. The other one is capacity building awareness in general. That could be a solution to it. Third one is involving the local community. So where this infrastructure is located, you basically involve the local community in contributing and supporting and maintaining the structure. So for example, agriculture, that's what one of the team members mentioned about. And yeah, and public-private partnerships, I guess, probably could make this a more active one. And that's it from our side. That's it from group 2. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very nice, points. So let's move to the group number 3. And any volunteer?
Paula, were we in group 1 or group 3? I don't remember.
You can be group 3. I think there was no group 1 because 2 members of group 1 was added to other groups. So you can be group 3.
Okay. Well, basically, it ended up being like a one-on-one chat with me and Paolo Vezdenetsky. But we talked about how land governance is an issue. So with ownership, who's really, there's so much private land that has been bought up. So it's hard for them, rather it's difficult to make them change their, let's say, behavior, because they're using the land for a certain function, and it should have, of course, a natural function as well. And because it's been converted to who knows what type of land use, it's harder for it to kind of, to contribute towards, let's say, river restoration or any other natural system that it used to be part of. So that's one aspect. And the other things that actually we did not discuss, but I can add here, was that I actually worked on a project called Building with Nature, and we identified drivers and barriers to building with nature in Asia, in 6 Asian countries. So it feels very much like the same story where it's all kinds of socio, environmental, and ecological systems. There's a regime in place, and you cannot always work with it. So it requires really fundamental change in the attitude, the mindset, the economic, let's say, drivers. And it's very familiar to what was already mentioned just earlier. I can just expand on that, but basically it's very much an agreement of it's a cultural mind shift. It's an economic mind shift. The rules are not there yet. So there's a lot to do with governance. Technology is not so much an issue. We already have the technology like yesterday. So the money is not really an issue either. It's more about how you create a good business case for, so let's say, the private sector. They are very difficult to convince unless you can show some data, and the data is relatively fresh on this. So we need probably more business cases to make them, to sell that case to them. But in countries where there was strong governance, let's say internal strong government regulation, there was actually a benefit. So in certain cases in China, for example, showed that the capacity for, let's say, nature-based solutions or any of these retention measures is more likely to happen than in places where there's strong, less strong central focus. So it was quite interesting to see the differences between those 6 different countries, and also your case with the beaver dams. I thought that was quite interesting.
Okay, so thank you. And the last group, I'm right, last? No, not last, almost last. The 4th group, can we hear your outcomes? Because these points are really, really interesting, and I'll just give some comments later, but I would like to hear someone from 4th group.
Yes, hi.
Yeah, hi.
I think a lot of the points have been somewhat mentioned, but one of the biggest points that we went back on is stakeholder collaboration. Again, this can be, it depends on the authority of the stakeholder, but for stakeholders of, for example, on a governmental level, I mean, that can be resolved by, if you have multiple projects, by identifying which projects would be most valuable. But then you have the problem with how would you quantify that? How would you quantify valuable, especially, and how would you distribute these costs and benefits, particularly when calculating things such as biodiversity? How would you allocate the benefits and the costs of that? But we decided that stakeholder collaboration was potentially a large bottleneck. And we had an example in Kenya that an issue related to this is just awareness. There might be low awareness either with local authorities or community, which would make it hard to implement a project, especially if it's a foreign institute trying to implement a project in a different area where you need that collaboration with local authorities or even local communities neighboring these projects. So if there isn't, if there's a lack of knowledge related to even in general, just a river restoration, you might not, it might be harder to get, for example, the permits that you need to even begin constructing a solution.
Okay, thank you. And last not least, group number 5. The last one who hasn't been spoken by now.
Yes, Marta, maybe I can speak for the group, because Julian and Elena were contributing, but Julian, for example, is commuting. So, but let's say that yes, there was the same I think point around stakeholders. The diversity of the stakeholders who can be involved in such project might be one of the big obstacle to put everybody around the table, and the different stakes of them. So in some country, like in France, we see that this kind of project can run if there's usually if there's a big initiative of an authority like a water governance body that really interact with all the stakeholders. But that can be different in different countries. And there was a second point, which is a more question for you, Marta, maybe, that some in the group were wondering around dams, for example, project or the maintenance stakes and probably maintenance cost that should be taken into account probably in such studies.
I will reflect on that in a second, because these are good points, and I've got some outcomes too. I'm sorry, I can't see your name because you're host 500.
No, sorry, I'm Sylvie from Antwerp.
Oh, Sylvie.
Yes, I was part of the group, so I just speak in the name of the group.
Thank you. Okay, Sylvie. So I will move to the last slide of my almost last slide of my presentation. To sum up, it's probably we can agree that natural water retention measures are win-win solution. They are cheaper. They are, as Samir said, it's not an issue of technology. It's got more than just retention benefits. They are less expensive than traditional retention, and somehow they can be used to improve the water footprint. The main obstacles are lack of knowledge, and lack of knowledge in many different levels. So lack of knowledge for the policymakers, decision makers, but also lack of knowledge for stakeholders, especially land users. It's hard not to agree that the land users around and stakeholders are one of the obstacles that I think it's easy. Let's say it's manageable. We can overcome it with education. We can overcome it with more and more data and more information. So this part where the education, because I think in water management, education is one of the crucial things to create the positive way of solving the problems. The education is the answer. Education, not only the professionals, because one of the groups said that there is this traditional way of thinking. I can see it also in Poland, unfortunately. It's better to use concrete and create a reservoir than restore the swamp. I had very interesting thing during your group sessions about this, let's say, political part. It's good to show we do something as a authority. We create a big reservoir, big dam. It's easy to open it with the press. It's so hard to show the restoration of wetland. It's hard to open make formal opening the restoration of wetland. So these formal issues connected to the not this scientific part, but this political part. The last but not least, there is a lot of tension in the level of local society. This is this beaver dams issues, for example, because there is, as one group said, there is a problem of changing the way the land was used, and it was used that way for hundreds of years. So it's hard to change the way we think. What was very interesting for me is that Samir told us that in the countries where the rules are more strict and more encouraging to use the natural water retention measures or any ecological based measures, it's it's happening more often. I'm also thinking this is one of the ways to implement this type of measures for Europe. I think it's the future. If you are aware of EU Restoration Act, it's quite huge thing, and there is a big push for restoration, wetlands, restoration of river, for example, even dams demolition. So this is the big push probably in Europe for this way of measure. And it's happening. So maybe in the future there will be more strict rules also out of European Union and out of Europe. We will see. I'm really curious how it will work, because the goals of this proposed regulation is they are quite ambitious. 70% of wetlands restored next until 2050, so not so long from now. And I'll put the point here, and I would like to go to your questions. As far as I saw, there were some questions on the chat. I would like to refer to that. About the charts, I will go back to charts to show you. Oh, not this way. Not this way, this way. The charts are from, sorry. The charts, this chart is strictly from the document we created. The costs are straight from Water Management Agency. Oh, again, so I'll show you again this slide. This cost and this water quantity is straight from the water authorities holding in Poland. So these are real cost and real value. These costs are connected to wide research we create to combine the actual data from Poland for wetland restoration, for river restoration. We've got some projects in Poland, but there is not enough just to calculate to make a calculation for whole country, for plans. So we use also data from other EU countries, from Germany, from France, and we just try to combine this data to make some assumptions and to make more generalized way. We also decided to use data from Common Agricultural Policy, this future plan, because there are some tools, some ways to give farmers some recompensation for their losses. So the data was quite huge, and they were combined from different sources. It's not only Polish data. And if you are asking me about data in these charts, these are data strictly for Poland. Because this is the main base we can compare to. So if that's all of the data, I think.
There was another question, Marta, about the beavers case study. It is the
beavers case study. Yeah, I'm going back. Yeah. first of all, the quantity of the water per beaver dams is information combined with different studies from Poland, from Lithuania also, because the variety of the numbers is quite huge. The 3,000 cubic meters is, let's say, average. They are bigger and they are smaller. If we are talking about claims, these are claims for 2-year period, not 1 year, just 2-year period, because this is the way the obtaining claims in Poland works as a procedure, official procedure. So this can be used for 2 years, 2-year data, and in this area where the claims are each year, there is plan to implement polyculture, to just change the way the land is used. Because of these claims, because it's always under the water, so for sure the farm production is not working at all. Sometimes the beaver dams are working in the same place for several years, so it's hard to just wait and give the claims for farmers and nothing is changing. So there is a plan to implement polyculture with some benefits for the farmers. Do we have any question? Any other question? Oh. There are questions about river restoration. Yeah, I saw this question from Samir. The river restoration is quite a huge topic. That's why I didn't go in details, because there was a project to first of all assess, then plan the measures for river restoration needs and the way we can conduct in the country. It's whole different projects, whole different team was preparing this, but the program is quite detailed. There was assessment of ecological status of all Polish rivers. There was identification of barriers on these rivers. There was also assessment whether these barriers are actually needed. They just got any purpose, or they're just, has a historical objects on the rivers. So this was quite huge work. Unfortunately, and there was also cost calculation for every single river based on what kind of measures, what kind of work is planned. If there was plan of if there was a plan for demolition of some kind of hydrotechnical objects, this was calculated. If there was a plan to restore the connection with floodplain, there was also included the cost of the land to prepare this floodplain connection. So this was quite detailed work, and we took the data from there, because it's, maybe I didn't mention it before, this was the project that we conduct for Polish Ministry of Infrastructure. It wasn't an academical project, so we got, unfortunately, the time frames. So we were working on the data. We actually got some from other projects, and we also collect. If you are interested in more details of those projects, I can provide you. We've got 3 minutes. I can provide you with some information. You're more than welcome to contact. I will show you the last slide, because there are contact details to me, and I will be also in Stockholm on these on-site sessions for 2 days, 29 and 30, I think. And you can find me there for sure. I can provide you with the data, I can provide you with more information, and I'm more than welcome to discuss, because this topic is quite close to me, and I'm really, really involved in convincing many people that natural water retention measures are actually a better option than this traditional hydrotechnic way of conducting things. So I think we need to finish, because they will close us in a second.
Yes,
So thank you.
it's almost to finish. And just to remind you that the recording will be available in the next days after, I think after the closure of the World Water Week.
Great. So you're more than welcome to contact me to discuss. And thank you for your attendance and for your participation and for your really nice outcomes from really short group session. I hope see you somewhere in Stockholm. Bye.